It's another season of Sharks hockey already getting off on the ice tonight. Kind of seems like a repeat of something we've already seen. Uh oh. We'll talk about that and more after this. But first, if you want to be a part of the show and join the conversation, notice I didn't use conversation. Follow us on the social, that being the YouTube, the X platform, Instagram, Facebook, Reels. You've got Reddit, you've got Discord, TikTok, and everything else at tealtownusa.com. Support the pod up at Teal Town USA. At the Venmos, we really appreciate it. Of course, the Super Chat's always there too. We really appreciate that, and we already got some coming in, so thank you very much. We really appreciate it, and of course, this is always for the fans, brought to you by the fans, and I'm happy to be joined with Mr. Ian Reed. Ian, how are you doing this evening?
I'm all right. I was really actually up until, I don't know, 18 minutes of the second period. I was pretty good, actually. I thought, for a lot of this game, like, you know what, if we have to watch, 82 games of this, it's all right. This isn't that bad. And then the end of the second period happened, and then it all just went way off the rails.
Yeah, I mean, I think we had started, and even for me, when I started this game off, it was like, okay, both of the teams are starting to kind of feel, feel the feels for kind of what the style of play was going to be like. I felt that it was kind of very passive hockey for that first 10, 15 minutes. Again, kind of establishing where everything is in the neutral zone, kind of how exactly they're going to be bringing it through the neutral zone. You saw the Sharks with a little bit of a difference on the back end play tonight. You saw a lot of shots coming in from the rear. So I do feel like they have changed a little bit on the way in which they're transitioning through the neutral zone and setting up for those perimeter shots. But again, to me, kind of a slow start, which was hallmarks from previous seasons. And I think we'll kind of get into it a little bit further, in which, you start a period differently than you end a period. And I think we saw that in the first, meaning they started off slow and ended kind of a little bit better. And then it was kind of a shift of a narrative, but again, a changing in the way in which they play from the beginning of the period to the latter half of the period.
Yeah, and I think another part of that too was also, I think Vegas took a long time to get into this game as well, which probably made them look a little bit better early on than maybe they deserved to look. Like, I don't think any outside of the Eichel line for the first half of this game, I didn't think outside the Eichel line that Vegas had much juice in it from any of its other lines, which I thought probably made the Sharks look a little bit better than maybe they deserve to, especially when you see how they ended the game after Vegas really seemed to wake up in the later parts of the second period. But I mean, it's bad, but I don't think it was all bad. Like, there's definitely things that I liked from this game for sure. Like, there's definitely players that I liked in this game, and it's hard, right? Like, look, we knew what we signed up for this season. We know what this team is. This is Teal Town USA. It's not NBC. I'm not going to sit here and be like, ooh, who's a surprise team that might make the playoffs? I'm going to pick the Sharks because, God damn it, they pay me.
Yeah. I think we saw a little bit of that hyperbole / sharkism, at the forefront tonight. And again, I think we're under no illusions of where the team is going to be at. We've already have very interesting lineup decisions at the very first beginning game, and and again, I think if anybody is kind of coming into this season thinking, okay, maybe there's a shot at the playoffs, I think you're going to be in for a rude awakening. And
I just want to know what kind of copium you're huffing if you think that that's like even a reasonable possibility. I don't know, man. Like I just
look, and I don't want to be pessimistic at the beginning of exactly.
Right,
That's
right.
exactly where we're going.
And like we're not like the one thing we're not doing tonight is we're fucking not talking about the draft lottery in fucking October. Like that is against the rules. So I don't want to hear about draft. I don't want to hear about who's gonna get picked with what pick or whatever. We're not doing that in October. I don't give a shit.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think again, I think we're here to set expectations correctly, and I think that when you've got the broadcast setting expectations that I think are unrealistic at this point, you need. I mean,
at least you did it with a straight face. I full marks there. I don't know if I could have.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I don't know if I could have either, but again, I mean, I don't know. What are they supposed to say? I think I wonder. It's I wonder if there is like a statement that the team needs to toe, and especially on the broadcasting side where you need to have them kind of be the rah. But again, I think that there's a fine line between being rah and being patronizing. You know what I mean? And I think that we've already kind of bled into the patronizing, and it hadn't even been, 2 periods of full hockey yet, and we got that already. So again, it's just like, guys, we love you. We know that you're supposed to be rah. We really appreciate the fact that we're having optimism on opening night. But again, I think there's a difference between having optimism for where, for the growth of the team versus optimism for a playoff spot, right? And I think me and you are definitely I don't want to
come on here and just like beat up on the broadcast, because the broadcast has been doing dumb shit like this for a while now. It is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. It is what it is. So let's get into the game. In that first period, like we had said, it was really not really much to talk about in the first 10 minutes. Again, very much perimeter play, very much, getting the puck in and kind of just starting to formulate an attack. I felt like the teams, again, just kind of waded into it, and then in about that 10 to 12 minute mark was really when it started to kind of get a little bit of the juices flowing, and then we started to see Vegas, really start to put the shot clock in their advantage. Again, you saw the Sharks giving up the neutral zone late in the first, but like you had said, I think that there were some good things. I think we saw a lot of point shots, and again, a lot of trying to, pick up the Erik Karlsson sized gaping hole with
that
by
they
committee.
Didn't do, because I think like if you're looking at where that gaping hole is going to hurt the most, it's going to hurt them the most in transition. It's going to hurt them the most getting out of their own zone. Like I think you can play, and I had this conversation on Twitter, and it's like, yeah, you can play more responsibly in front of your goalie all you want, but if you can't exit the zone, then it doesn't matter, because eventually you're going to get fatigued, and then you're going to make a mistake, and then it doesn't matter how good defensively you were for the first 2 minutes of your shift that you can't get off of the ice for.
Exactly.
If you can't get out of your own zone, like it doesn't matter how responsible you are in front of your own net, because you're going to get tired, and then fatigue breeds mistakes, and it's going to be, and I think you saw that a little bit tonight too, especially in the third, where I thought the Sharks had a hell of a time on that fourth goal. They had a hell of a time trying to get out of their own zone. Like I said on X or Twitter, whatever the hell you want to call it now, like I'm like, wow, the Golden Knights looked like they were on the power play since the period started, because that's exactly what it looked like. They were, and then the Sharks were also pretty sloppy in their own zone. But again, when you get hemmed in your zone like that and you can't get off the ice, you can't end a shift, you're going to start making dumb mistakes. And I think the fourth goal really highlighted the issue that they're going to have this season as in their transition game. Like they don't have they don't have those guys anymore. And I think if you're looking for the guys that are on the team to pick up that slack, like I don't really see anybody there who really has that in their toolkit as much.
Yeah, and I think you brought up, the fact that the power play is missing, a key cog, and I think it directly led to the first goal. And in that first goal, Michael Amadio scores his first on the season with Carlson and Haig getting the assist at 15:25 on a wrist shot. Now this is what I would like to call a PK influenced type goal, because it happened, within 2 seconds of the power play ending for the Sharks. The power play really sucked the life out of the team, I felt, which was what we saw last year, which every time they would go on the power play, it just felt like the team was skating on quicksand. And again, we saw that more. We saw that static set in the offensive zone, not moving their feet. And then what eventually happens is once the puck once the puck is overturned and the other team gets on the transition attack, the Sharks are still static within the offensive zone. So then they're trying to back check and trying to chase the play. And what happens is Amadio is right on the right hand hash mark. You get a nice go behind the goal. You get a feed out to him, and then he shoots it, moving left, getting the goaltender moving left to right. Which again we saw last year as a key tactic against the Sharks, and I think for most goaltenders in the league, right? I think you're supposed to be taught to you're as a shooter, you're supposed to teach them to make the goaltender move from left to right. And we saw that very prevalent last year, and I think we're just seeing more of the same. And kind of hard to fault Kaapo Kahkonen there on that first one, because
I don't fault him at all on that one.
The defensive coverage again was abysmal, and he had nobody covering him on that far side post. It just seemed like whoever was supposed to tag Amadio just completely blew an assignment, and there we go, 1-0. However, the Sharks would come back with a nice goal from Fillip Zadina, Hertl and Thrun getting the assists there. And this one was nice, to see, the top line coming through and scoring and getting the game getting the Sharks kind of into the game and make them feel like, okay, maybe they can skate for a little bit with the team. And I think that overflowed into the second period, where you saw some really good things, like you had said, Ian. We had seen some bright spots. Again, we saw those shots getting funneled from the point. We saw them getting through in the first part of that second period.
I mean, I thought Fillip Zadina, I thought had a really, really good game. I thought, and his goal, nice heads up play there, kind of taking advantage of a deflection that kind of perplexed the Vegas defense and got past who was actually, I thought Logan Thompson played a really good game tonight too. Not that he was overly busy, but I thought he made saves when he had to. But Fillip Zadina got a good goal there. There was parts of this game where I really liked Zetterlund. Zetterlund's a guy who, when the Sharks acquired him, right, Devils fans were like, "Oh, you're gonna love this guy. You're gonna love this guy." And so far, I am whelmed. But I do like his shot, and I thought he had a couple of, I thought he had a couple of really nice shots over the course of the game. I do want to see more though. Like, this is a guy that I want to see so bad what Devils fans saw in him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was kind of sold to us as like the Diet Coke of Timo Meier, right? And he's like, I saw the same like the same perspectives being put on Twitter saying, this kid, Fabian Zetterlund, we wish we could keep him, and bring him along a little bit more. He's kind of young and raw and not exactly where the other, like where Nico Hischier is, or where, where their other players are. So he doesn't really fit in the timeline of what the Devils are trying to do. And I felt like, he was going to be a piece that, in maybe 2 to 3 years could start to fill the void of a Timo. But, I think this year is going to be important for Fabian Zetterlund. I think he's going to have to really show that he's a full-time NHLer. And, I think at the at the ceiling, I see a second line player, a second line winger. At the floor, I see a fourth line plugger, and I think he's probably going to end up somewhere in the middle of that. A second, a third line tweener. A guy who doesn't mind mixing it up a little bit in front of the net, but never going to be a full play driver, in my opinion, from just what I'm seeing. I mean, unless he has,
it's one game, right? It's
exactly.
like the first game of the season. So there's at least I saw like before tonight, like that I never really saw anything that's like, but tonight at least, like there was a couple of times where I was like, oh, that's Zetterlund, interesting. Obviously, again, it's this game 1 of 82, so we're gonna see more. Let's hit the super chat here.
Jerry F, thank you so much for the super chat, $5. Welcome back, Teal Town After Dark. It looks like this year TT USA will be the commiseration station for the Sharks fans who are forever teal regardless. Yeah, I think that goes without saying. That's exactly what this is going to be like this season, Jerry. So we appreciate you being along for the ride, and we definitely appreciate the super chat donation.
Yes,
we got another one from John. This is his second of the night, so thank you. His first one was $2. Next one's $5. John. The introductions felt like the Major League movie where they say, "Who are these guys?"
I mean, a lot of new faces. Obviously, I think that's something that we're going to see, right? I mean, this is a team that is, again, I don't want to pick on the broadcast, but like their little opening spiel, apparently the rebuild's over. No, this is a team that's in a rebuild. So obviously that's going to be something that I think we're going to have to get used to going forward. Is we're going to see a lot of new faces. It's not the same old team. We were spoiled for a long time, where we basically, it was like.
Pencil in a generational first line center in Jumbo.
Right.
Having perennial all-star in Marlowe. Danny Boyle. Up for Norris contention, or Burns for Norris contention, or Carlson in the back. Keeping everything cool. Yeah, no, it's a bunch of kids.
Right.
And
so I mean that's the way it's gonna be.
It's a bunch of kids and Hertl and Couture, and that's about Vlasic. It's so 3 old guys and a bunch of kids is basically the name of this show tonight. Like a Tiger, thank you very much. We appreciate the super chat donation, $5. This blue line needs Nick Shishak. Ha ha ha! I won't stop being.
I might. It's a $5 super chat, so I guess I have to dignify that with a response. No, I'm not going to. Fuck it. Okay, so excuse me, the broadcast said what? It was in their opening spiel. I'll retweet it later. They put it out there. It wasn't exactly what they said, but it was easy to interpret it that way. It's just like talking head over montage. It wasn't like anything that you should get super upset about.
No, but again, I think like we had said, right? I mean, last year at the end of it, it was like, look, we just don't want patronization, right? We understand. We as Sharks fans, I think our team has been in the league long enough that we're educated hockey fans for the most part. I think we can understand the disparity in talent level between us and a Vegas, and it's just like, guys. What I'd love for the broadcast to be about? Let's highlight the kids that made it up this year. Let's highlight what Eklund's doing. Let's highlight what Bordy's doing. And Bordy was on the ice tonight for a couple goals against, and it was kind of shitty. But again, it's like you need to be highlighting the future. You need to be highlighting the potential of the team. You can't be highlighting. And
it really annoyed me tonight that on the replay of I think it was the first goal, and when Hedeken was breaking it down, no attention paid to the dumb meathead defense that was in front of Kahkonen, and I don't know, tried to make some comment about how it should have been goaltender interference, but and then he goes and he picks on Zadina for hooking the wrong way in the offensive zone way before the goal happens. And this is why this happens. No comment about the veteran D meatheads that they brought in that are going to take up spots on the, in front of Kahkonen. No. It was the Euro kid, 90 miles away from the play that caused it to go all wrong. Stupid.
Well, just kind of like that. I mean, that second period at the end of it was stupid. Stupid in the fact that the Sharks basically replayed the tape from second periods of yore.
Yeah, I mean, it was unfortunate, right? Like that the second goal shouldn't have happened. Like
Okay,
that was a really bad goal for Kahkonen to let in.
Yeah, let's go on the first one, and then we'll get into the second. So the first the first goal of the second period ends up coming in at 18:31 of that second. Nick Hague, Pietrangelo, and Eichel get the assists there, and again, it's one of those ones coming in from the back end to kick it down below the goal line. Then they kind of come up the half wall and then go back to the point and then off to the one-timer and you score. And
yeah, and it's a bad goal. Like there's just no, I mean, I understand that like the Sharks weren't good. Like the wheels, you could kind of feel the wheels starting to come off, but it was a shit goal. Like it was a bad goal.
The second goal was bad, but I had even more of a problem with the third goal. The third goal I felt was on Kahkonen, especially. You know, it's the one where Nick Roy would score 1924 in the second period. So again, with all of 36 seconds left, they score, to have a 3-1 lead going into the second intermission. But Ronberg and Hutton would get the assists there.
Yeah. See, I would counter with this, right? Like I don't have as much issue with the goal itself. It was a good shot, right past the goalie's ear. Like those are hard saves to make. The problem is it's just like we've seen this with Kaapo Kahkonen too many times. There's a goal, and then it always seems like with Kahkonen, it's not just a goal, it's two, it's three. Like the wheels just come off. And I thought it was really unfortunate too, because I thought up until that point, Kahkonen had played a really good game up until the second Vegas goal. And then the third one, it's kind of, we've seen that too often with him, right? Where one gets by him and then
it snowballs.
He's just tissue paper for, the next few shots. And and in a situation like the Sharks, he's going to see, goals go in, and then he's going to have to make saves immediately after. And I feel like that's been a recurring issue with him, whereas he lets in a bad goal. And then there's, and I don't think this wasn't a good goal to let in, but I don't think it was as bad as the first. But it just, the timing of it just sucks.
Yeah, and again, we go back to getting into the second intermission, where you've got your tails between your legs at this point, because you've just gotten rolled on in the last minute and 30. And again, you give yourself no chance in the third period for any type of mounted comeback. And
well, I thought it's not only that. Vegas at that point had completely woken up too, yeah. And I think that was, I look at Vegas. This is a team that won the Stanley Cup last year. They didn't make very many changes. It wasn't like this is a team that won a cup and then had to dismantle. Yeah, Riley Smith is gone, but pretty much that team's basically intact, right?
Right. Now, some would say
they're Stanley Cup champions for a reason.
Yeah, some would say that that's not always, the best trend. Some people think 10 to 15% change in mix, even when you score or even when you win a championship, is a good thing. I think Vegas.
Yeah, but in this cap world, give me a break. Who can do that?
Exactly.
Unless if you absolutely have to have cap casualties, but. Vegas did have to have one. It was Riley Smith. Exactly.
So then we go into the third period. Now, the third period I thought wasn't too bad. We've seen Sharks teams before just wilt. We did see some shots on goal. I felt that they got close to scoring a couple times in that third period. So I felt like they didn't cave in as so much as they did last year. But again, this is game one, right? It's easy to have energy when you're getting stomped on in the first game, and you're going into the third period. It's easy to kind of get that energy because you're still in their first game and you still got the adrenaline going. But you set yourself up for the failure in the second. Going into the third, you had your hands tied behind your back. You had, Vegas, basically smelling blood. And again, they would add an extra goal, and this one would be Brett Pascal is first on the season. Dorofev. Oh my goodness, I can't do it. Carlson second assist, but I think Dorofev with his first assist on the season. And this one, again, another left to right, moving lateral. They had a bunch of bodies in front of Kahkonen. Not his fault.
No, I don't really like. I don't fault him for the last one. I mean, again, like it was that goal came 3 minutes into the third period.
2 minutes, 2 minutes.
2 minutes and something. And it looked like, and the Golden Knights looked like they were on the power play the whole time, even though it was 5-on-5. Like at some point, I will definitely, if Kahkonen lets in a bad goal, I'm going to hang, but I'm not going to hang this whole night on him. Like, I think, he had a rough end of the second period, but he was fine otherwise, I guess. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how Quinn is going to go with his goalies this year. Like, is it going to be an even split between him and Blackwood until someone takes the reins? That's my guess, but is that actually going to happen? I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just looking at the stat sheet tonight, and I mean, the only one that really kind of jumps out at me is Kyle Burroughs with with a beautiful -3 at 18 minutes of ice time, and I'm looking at his stats, and I'm going, what is the appeal of this player?
Well, I mean, the Sharks blue line's ass.
It
right?
is. I mean, it completely is. But I would rather see Nick Cishek than him.
No.
I don't know, dude. I mean, you look at his stat line overall, he's only played 95
games. I don't think
career.
Kyle Burroughs is good, but I don't know. I mean, a lot of people in this fan base like Nick Cishek a lot more than I do. I don't think Nick Cishek's bad. But I understand why Kyle Burroughs is there, right? He's a veteran guy that they brought in to do veteran things and be bad. I mean,
look, I liked Jan Ruda. I thought Ruda played a decent game tonight, and he's had, at least he's a veteran in which I can recognize some good veteran leadership and good.
I don't understand what they like. I don't know Burroughs? What they saw when they brought in Burroughs, but I mean, if you're looking to be, if I said we were going to talk about certain things that have to do with going to the podium and selecting players, but if that's the end goal, I mean, you could do worse than Kyle Burroughs.
Then the conspiracies come out. Well, again, though, I mean, look.
Like, I don't think this team was built to be good this year, right? Like, I don't know, man. Like, yeah, he's not good. And, and I loved how, again, on the, what I think it was the first goal against the Sharks, Hedeken, like, bent over backwards to pin it on Zadina.
I know.
But Kyle and Logan's bringing up a good thing in the chat. Kyle Burroughs punches people in the face, so therefore you need those guys because you have kids, you got to protect them.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Thank you so much, everybody, for checking out the pod tonight. We're hitting minute 28 here, and we're about to wrap the show. We're this season. We're trying to conserve the gas tanks. It's going to be a long season, so for programming notes, I think we're trying to aim between that half hour and 45-minute mark this season. So again, if you notice the show's going a little shorter this season, don't worry. You don't need to adjust your sets. That's just us trying.
I mean, if something happens that warrants talking longer, but I don't think there's really not much to dissect this game. Good team beat bad team.
Yeah,
still at 11.
Yeah, exactly. Give me my Emmy now, my podcasting Emmy, right? But no, exactly. And again, I mean, we had some questions on, what are we looking for? What were the highlights of tonight? I think Henry Thrun was a really good highlight tonight.
Yeah, I think Thrun made, like, I'm not going to say Thrun played a perfect game. Like, he showed that he's a rookie, but there's a lot there that I like. And I think he's a guy who I was really worried because of being, lack of waiver eligibility. He's a guy that I was really concerned would end up on the Barracuda just because, he doesn't have to go to waivers. So send him to the Barracuda because you don't want to put fucking Kyle Burroughs on waivers after all.
Just another Randy G. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you being here. At least the PK still works somehow.
Hey, PK works for sure.
It's the little victories.
Yeah, like again, I think, so I liked a lot of Thrun's game. Like, yeah, did he have a perfect game? No. He's gonna learn, right? He's trying to make his way. I like Declan's game tonight. I would have wanted to see a little bit more from Bordeleau, I think, though. I wasn't really
I was not
too impressed with Bordeleau's game tonight. But like I said, there was a couple things I liked. I liked Zadina's game a lot. Here's a guy who's trying to basically rewrite the script after coming through to after coming over from Detroit after being bought out, or what was he bought out, released? I don't remember how that exactly went down, but long story short, he's here now, right? And he's trying to basically rewrite this kind of the script that's been written about him in in Detroit so far. And I thought, so far I've liked what I saw. I think the sad thing is how many times Luke Cunnin got set up and just couldn't do fuck all with it. That sucked.
I don't understand what is he doing on the second line? Like I don't get it. I mean, I'd rather have Barabanov there or Barabanov on the first and then put Duclair on the second. It's just like
contract mutually terminated. Thank you. Yeah, I knew there was something there. I couldn't remember exactly how that went down.
But I just again, I don't. I wonder if the players are being put in the correct positions for success. I wonder about that with this coaching staff. I wondered about it at the end of last year, and I still have those questions now. With the way in which they deploy players, I'm still not 100% sold on, and I don't think I'm going to be sold on it this year.
Well, I mean, here's the problem, right? Like, we haven't really discussed this, but like, Logan Couture is kind of a big fucking hole in the lineup that's missing right now, right? Like, I feel like if you put like Logan Couture with Eklund, maybe some of those plays get finished.
Maybe, but I could just see, David Quinn being like, well, I think I should have a grinder with my playmaker and with my, skill guy. So he would put Cunnin on the second line with Couture and with Eklund. So it's
but at least with Eklund and Couture, they could work off each other.
True that. But again, I don't think that this is going to be the coaching staff.
There is something that we need to discuss.
That gets over the hump, and I think for me, I'm just looking for growth. But Ian, let's discuss what you want to discuss.
Kevin Labanc.
Yeah.
Not in the lineup tonight.
No.
Now, I thought for what Giovanni Smith brings to the game, I thought he was fine.
Right.
But like Kevin Labanc is a guy who the Sharks they just seem intent on destroying any value that he might have.
Yep.
Like, obviously, look at Kevin Labanc and the Sharks are not a marriage that's going to last, right? I think anyone can see it at this point. Multiple coaches have come in and he's ended up in the doghouse multiple times, including with the current regime. I mean, he's not even in the opening. And David Quinn can downplay, be like, oh, he missed some of training camp and blah, 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 blah. Here's the problem. This is a guy who eventually the Sharks are going to want to move.
Mm-hmm. And how do you move him?
How do you move a guy with a contract at almost $5 million if you don't play him?
Exactly. You're artificially depressing his value.
Yeah.
And this is a guy who at one point was a 50-point player. A player in my mind that would go very well with a Matthew Barzal on the island or in New Jersey with Timo and Hischier and the rest of them. I mean, this is a guy that should be a skilled player. He should be a second liner, and he should be on a team surrounded by defensively responsible individuals, so he can do what he does best, which is distribute the puck.
Yeah, I just don't understand why. I understand that obviously. Like, again, I don't. Is this this has been a marriage that's been broken for a long time. I don't think there's any, like, I don't see a future as Kevin Labanc as a Shark. But like, I don't understand what you expect to get for him if you don't play him a little bit. Like, and again, it's only one game. Maybe he draws into the lineup sooner than later. But
that's
to me,
that's a damning
if this
indictment.
is a guy that you
damning
want
indictment not to be
to get
not
rid
on
of,
open.
Yeah, like I don't know, man. Like, again, like, I'm not a huge Kevin Labanc guy, right? Like, I am definitely on the Kevin Labanc should find a new home, and he should have found it last year. But
agreed. I think he needs a change of scenery, and I don't think that
I do. Yeah, I agree. Like,
he's not
this
going
situation
to
isn't
form
good for
here.
either party.
Yeah, and he's not going to regain form here. I think that is pretty evident. I think it's pretty evident what the org sees in him and how they're treating him at this point. And so it's like, okay, what is the objective of this season? Is the objective here really to try and squeak into a playoff spot? It's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
It's not going to happen. So what is the best thing to do? Maximize the value of your veterans and
100%.
Get good pieces back at the trade deadline to maximize the draft capital you have.
Yeah, because if you don't, like, again, like, I don't want to talk about what happens after the season, but like, in order to make that worth your while, you want to be a seller.
Exactly.
Not only at the deadline, but through, like, during the season, you want to, sell when the appropriate time comes. I don't know. To me,
you gotta have sellable
I looked
pieces.
at what they did, like what they did with the forwards and how, I think Kevin Labanc could have helped them tonight.
Agreed. Kevin Labanc could have helped them tonight. He could have helped himself in his value and helped the Sharks long term in the value in which he can return to the team in a trade.
Yeah, and Randy G bringing up, like, some remember they can only retain salary on one more player. That's why you want to play Kevin Labanc, so that you don't have to keep salary on him. Exactly. I mean, he's only got, and this is the last year of his contract anyway, if I recall correctly. I should really open cap friendly when I start talking out of my ass here. Almost positive this is Kevin Labanc's last year, is it not?
So he's going to have a prorated contract, in terms of trade anyways, which is always another.
I think. I don't know, man, but like, you could also take a shit contract back. Like, again, the Sharks are not going to be competitive this year. They're not going to be competitive next year. You can take back a shit contract, like they did with Granlund, right? Like, Granlund's a guy who's making $5 million over the next 2 years. Mike Grier didn't call up Pittsburgh and be like, okay, look at Erik Karlsson, but I want Mikael Granlund. Pittsburgh said, listen, we want to take Erik Karlsson, but you have to take Granlund to make the cap work. Right, like he wasn't the get for Mike Grier. Mike Grier was like, "Give me Mikael Granlund right now." Like, didn't happen.
He was the centerpiece of that trade.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
so Kevin Labanc is final year. I mean, you can take back a shit contract that has a year or two left on it.
Yeah.
To not eat up your precious retained cap spaces. There's just ways to make this work.
Yeah. Yeah, and it starts with him getting more ice time in which he can showcase his skills, and garner a little bit of interest, because at this point, if you're just letting him die on the vine there, I mean, you're not going to get anything from him.
Yeah, I just try to increase his value just a teeny bit. That's all I'm saying. Like, because again, like the at the end of the day, I think there's going to be a lot of selling in San Jose this year. There's not going to be any buying.
Man, that's a hot take coming out of nowhere.
I know.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I think we're going to be wrapping it up, so let's go over the final stats for the evening. The Golden Knights beat the San Jose Sharks 4-1. 32 shots on goal in favor of the Knights, with 23 for the Sharks. Face-off percentage, that was one good thing for the Sharks tonight at 55%. They would go 0 for 2 on the power play, and they'd have 19 hits to 17 blocks. And 3 stars of the game would be Haig, Karlsson, and Packle from Vegas. So again, pretty emblematic of the way in which the Sharks ended last season and picking up again on this season. So we'll see if there's some growth. And again, we just try to hold the line and see what we can gather as far as intelligence for the season, see what we can gather as far as development in the players, the young players especially this season, and then like you had said, Ian, maximize trade value at trade deadline, because
that's the key.
The Sharks need to be sellers. They need to get assets, and they need to improve their fortune in the draft and through some shrewd manipulating of cap and trades and so forth. So you got to start somewhere. Ian, what are your final thoughts on where the people can find you?
Final thoughts. Hey, you can find me at Ian Blogs Hockey on the Twitter X, whatever the fuck it's called now. That stupid place. That continues to be a tire fire. You can find me there. I tweet during games, but don't really do a whole lot elsewise. I guess tomorrow, check out the Teal Town Twitter account, because I will be probably live tweeting the Barracuda game from there. The Barracuda's open the season tomorrow against, I believe, Rockford. So that'll be fun.
That will be fun. And as far as myself, I am at Eric Landi, and you can reach me across all the social media garbage. My final thoughts for the evening are, continue to build upon fundamentals. Let's see where the youngins are at, and continue to play them and get them more experience, and let's get some of these vets who are not going to be here for long, some more playing time, so we can showcase them and get some assets. And besides that, ladies and gentlemen, please stay safe out there. There's some real troubling times right now.
Yes. Did you enjoy your moment of silence for world peace? Did you wish really hard for it?
Yeah, I did. And and you know what? I mean, honestly, no joke here. We really do. Our hearts go out to all those affected. We the violence itself is just indescribable. And
I mean, I joke, like I joked on Twitter, it's like, did you click your heels and wish for world peace? But I mean, man, I just when you look at things going on, and I can't think of how lucky I am to be able to live in a country where I'm not going to worry about being dragged out of my house and shot.
Exactly.
In the middle of the night, no one's going to drag. I mean, crazier things have happened, but yeah, it's not the thing to worry about.
We're thankful to have this escape. But again, our hearts and thoughts and prayers, go out to all those affected in this tragedy. And again, the inhumanity is indescribable. We'll just leave it at that. And in case you miss us and you want to catch us again, check us out on the YouTube Rewind. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell so that you are notified every time we go live. Of course, we go live after any breaking news, large breaking news, that is. And then we go live after all of the games. So that's 82 of them, and we're going to be there for all 82. So check us out again on the vodcast or on the podcast channels of your choice, that being Apple Podcast, the Google Play Store, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeart, and Audacity. And again, check out all of that and more at tealtownusa.com, where you can find both the recap and the podcast form and YouTube form, all on the website again. So thank you everybody for joining us, and for myself and for Ian, keep it real, keep it teal, and keep it real teal, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a long one, but we're going to be here for you. Thank you, and have a good evening.